welcome to According to John Unbridled. Today's topic is the progression to Pride Month. And I thought what I would do is just go ahead and give facts. Let's just look at it. I mean, it's all over the internet. The facts are the laws and so on and so forth, and how we've progressed to the point where we are in that we celebrate Pride Month as a nation. Of course, not every individual does. I am one of those individuals who does not celebrate Pride Month. And I think, listen, if we're going to have a month to celebrate, let's do Veterans Month. Let's do that. Let's celebrate our veterans who actually did some good for our country and made a difference for the positive. You know, it just seems that the left or the alphabet agenda seems to be, you know, our government supports it, celebrates it. The law allows them to break the law. The law is very biased toward the LGBTQ, the Antifa, Black Lives Matter, Democrats, liberals. It seems like they're very biased in supporting them, meaning that they can break the law all they want and they are not arrested. They get a free pass. But if it's conservatives or those on the right, they don't get a free pass. As a matter of fact, they're held to a different standard and many times accused of things that they've not even done and arrested for. And you know, you have the Sixers that went through that and so on and so forth. It's just I'm just this whole thing is just getting out of hand anymore. You know, I was thinking of when we have these parades, pride parades. Listen, they're allowed to walk down the streets naked. Literally, go back and research this, where the men have their genitals hanging out, and children on the sidewalks, and police right there, but no arrest made for indecent exposure. Like it's just this free pass to do whatever they choose, and then everyone else that actually has morals or a standard or doesn't agree with it gets arrested. And the insanity of it is what drives people to retaliate or to not like or to take a stand, which then they're accused of being hateful and you know, inciting riots or inciting violence. And it's just, man, I'm telling you, our country is off the rails. And so anyway, we're going to look at some facts. You can Google all these facts. You can find them yourself. It's all over the internet. I'm not sharing anything that's not out there. But I thought, let's talk about the progression to Pride Month. And before we get into it, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father in heaven, Lord, we pray your hand upon this podcast. Father, give me clarity of thought, clarity of speech, and all of us clarity of hearing. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so I thought what I would do is if we're going to talk about the progression, let's look at the dates. Let's look at the things that are happening that have went on or are, you know, that's led us to where we are. You know, in the mid 90s, it was all about acceptance, right? We just want to be accepted. And then in the 2000s, it went from we want to be accepted to love is love. We just want equality. And then it wasn't long. It was about 2012 that it was, hey, bake the cake or go to jail. So what's even crazier is there were those that were with the alphabet that would seek out Christians and their businesses and go in there with cameras rolling just to set them up to catch more of them that might refuse to do something that went against their beliefs, such as the baker did. And but then we had the, you know, bake the cake or go to court and then say my pronouns or you're going to lose your job. I will sue you. I will go to HR and I'm going to report you. And then people lost their jobs because they wouldn't say the proper pronouns. But the flip side of that is since gender was fluid to many of these people, they would change their gender daily and expect the workforce or their fellow employees to keep up with it. They couldn't keep up with it, and so it just became mass confusion. But the people that didn't say the right pronouns still got in trouble, even though it was a fluid gender, which is the insanity of this, right? And then we had, of course, then we go into kids. They had to be exposed, or they were exposed to drag queens, even in libraries and in schools and all of that. But yet a Christian couldn't go into a library and read a book because that wasn't proper, but the drag queens were allowed to go in and read books. And of course, you can Google that. It's all over. I'm not saying anything that's not true here and that you can't research for yourself. And then we went from we just want acceptance, remember this whole thing, to now we're going to teach the LGBTQ agenda in classrooms. And we're going to start this in kindergarten. And we're going to be explicit and show explicit things. But you as a conservative cannot opt out of this. You got to sit there and witness it, and no religious exemption or nothing like that, because you don't have rights when it comes to the pride rights. And then we went from the sex ed classes to just straight up brainwashing with literally porn books that had pictures of boys on boys, girls on girls, and how to stimulate and how to insert things. I mean, this is in the books, like drawn out in the library, talking about how to give oral sex, how to have sex in every way that you can imagine. These books are very explicit. And they're in the library for any student to check out. It's mind-boggling. And if you fight for that right to have those porn books removed, then you were full of hate. You were the problem. And then, of course, you know, issues upon issues. And then we go into transitioning. So you send your daughter to school, and now the school, without your knowledge, and they don't have to tell you, starts transitioning your daughter, brainwashing her to believe she's a boy. They supply clothing for her to wear as a boy while in school. There was a case where a 12-year-old girl, the school teachers literally taught her how to bind her breasts so that she would look like a boy, and then ultimately kill them. And so they would stop growing. Taught her all these things at 12 years old. And then dad finds out and just loses his mind over it, obviously, because of the child abuse that's going on. But that's acceptable because the school's doing it. And they give them new names. They do all of this stuff. This is the progression that I'm talking about that is happening in the schools today, in your school that your child goes to today in America. It's happening every day in these classrooms and in these school buildings. And they don't have to tell you that they're doing this. And if you don't approve of it, then you could lose your child because they will consider it child abuse. And there's laws getting ready to go in place right now. Colorado, if you don't support transitioning your child, you lose your child because it's child abuse. And it's on the dockets right now waiting to be passed. And there's other states that are doing the same thing. But my point is, we went from we just want acceptance to we're going to dominate your life, and we're going to have special rights, and you're going to give up your rights. And if you don't give up your rights, then guess what? We'll have you arrested for hate crimes. You're going to lose everything. The insanity of it. You know, I went through and I was looking at the laws. Like, when did it start happening throughout the history of our country? And I just picked some. I mean, there's a lot more on the records, but I just picked out some. So here we go. Let me just read a few here. January 14th, 1975. The first federal gay rights bill is introduced to address discrimination based on sexual orientation. That was January 14th, 1975. October 11th, 1988, the first National Coming Out Day was observed. November 1995, the Hate Crime Sentencing Enhancement Act, and that goes into effect as part of the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994. And it says those laws allows a judge to impose harsher sentences if there is evidence showing that a victim was selected because of sexual orientation. September 6, 2005, the California legislature becomes the first to pass a bill allowing marriage between same-sex couples. Now, I think that was turned down, but either way, it was... No, that was the first to pass the bill. I'm sorry, because it was a year before that it was turned down. October 25th, 2006, the New Jersey Supreme Court rules that state lawmakers must provide the rights and benefits of marriage to gay and lesbian couples. May 15th, 2008, the California Supreme Court rules in the marriage cases that limiting marriage to opposite sex is unconstitutional. November 4th, 2008, voters approved Proposition 8 in California, which makes same-sex marriage illegal. But the judge did not agree with what the people voted for for. The Californians voted for Proposition 8 to make same-sex same-sex marriage illegal. And then there was a federal judge who said it's unconstitutional and reversed it. May 9th, 2012, in an ABC interview, Obama becomes the first sitting U.S. president to publicly support the freedom for LGBTQ couples to marry. September 4th, 2012, the Democratic Party becomes the first major U.S. political party in history to publicly support same-sex marriage on a national platform at the Democratic National Convention. June 26, 2013, the U.S. Supreme Court rules that legally married same-sex couples are entitled to federal benefits. July 27, 2015, Boy Scouts of America President Robert Gates announces the National Executive Board ratified a resolution removing the national restriction on openly gay leaders and employees, even though they were having a problem with these gay leaders. Not all of them, but there were several of them that were inappropriate with the boys, pedophilia. Nobody stopped it. Nobody stopped it. Unbelievable. Which, by the way, today they are pushing that pedophiles need to be classified with the LGBTQIAA plus group because they can't help who they're drawn to, and that they should be allowed to have sex with children. How far have we gone? I mean, we're talking about the progression. Listen, you open a door just a little bit to let that rat in, and boy, I'm going to tell you what, he's in. You open a door a little bit for Satan, and he's in. I'm just saying. June 20, which, by the way, the Boy Scouts of America no longer exist because they opened it up to allow girls in it. So now it's not boys only, it's boys and girls. But the boys are not allowed to join the Girl Scouts we can't have that. And so you just saw the Boy Scouts just drop. Why? Well, we got to get rid of boys. We can't teach them how to survive in the wilderness. We can't teach them good morals. We can't teach them intestinal fortitude and integrity and character. We can't teach them all of that. Lord forbid we have strong men in society today. June 24, 2016, Obama announces the designation of the first national monument to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender rights. It's called the Stonewall National Monument. June 27th, 2017, District of Columbia residents can now choose a gender-neutral option on their driver's license. D.C. residents become the first people in the United States to be able to choose X as their gender marker instead of male or female on driver's licenses and identification cards. See how we changed rules and laws and the whole nine? Just to help take care of. February 10th, 2020, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upholds a ruling that the state of Idaho must provide gender confirmation surgery to inmates in the custody of the Idaho Department of Corrections at the taxpayer's expense. So you got someone in there who's broke the law, criminal, has lost all their rights. They don't have rights, they're criminals. So as long as they're in prison, they don't have rights. But now the Ninth Circuit Court says, nope, if they want to have sex change, then taxpayers must pay for it. How sick are we as a country, and how debased is our legal system anymore? August 26, 2020, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals rules in favor of transgender students using school restrooms of their choice. The ruling states that policies segregating transgender students from their peers is unconstitutional and violate federal law prohibiting sex discrimination in education. And so in 2020, it was the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals said boys can use girls' restrooms and locker rooms. And yeah, because this should outrage us. But I'm just showing you the progression. I'm giving you the dates. You can look this stuff up. June 30th, 2021. The State Department announces it will be updating its procedures to allow applicants to self-select their sex marker for passports, and that it will no longer require medical certification if an applicant's self-selected sex marker doesn't match the sex listed on other official identity documents. Boy, that opens it up for corruption, doesn't it? Oh, my goodness, man. Compromise. Hey, why not, man? Compromise our safety to give people who doesn't realize that if they have male parts, they're male, and if they don't have the male parts, they're female. Born that way. Born that way. Not assigned at birth, discovered at birth. But we're going to change the law, and now we can put an X down on these passports and everything else. October 27, 2021, the State Department announces that the U.S. has issued the first U.S. passport with an X-gender marker. As the Secretary announced in June, the department is moving towards adding an X-gender marker for non-binary, intersex, and gender non-conforming persons. We will change the laws just for you, and we will make it unsafe for everyone else just for you. And so now we have an X box because you don't know if you're male or female. I'm just telling you, this opens up so many doors to corruption and immorality and illegal activity. And then who do we hold accountable? Who do we hold accountable for this gender dysphoria and mental delusion? Who do we hold accountable for this? October 19th, 2022. The Social Security Administration announces that people can now choose their sex marker in their Social Security records. December 13th, 2022, President Biden signs the Respect for Marriage Act, which includes new federal protections for same-sex couples. See, the problem here, guys, the problem isn't that they're giving them the rights. Okay. All right, you get rights, equal rights. Okay, you have it. You can get married according to the law, not according to Scripture, because the Bible says that marriage is between a man and a woman, and so therefore God defined marriage, and so it doesn't matter what man does, he cannot redefine what God has already defined. Either way, you want rights to get married, you got rights to get married. You want rights for all this, you got those rights. The frustrating part is that you get special rights above every other citizen because you have a sex preference. And so therefore, and by the way, why don't you just keep your sex preference in the bedroom where everyone else is supposed to keep their sex preference? Listen, if you're a man and you want to lay with a man, that's your preference. Why does it got to be public? If you're a woman that lays with a woman, why does it got to be public? And why do we have to go under greater scrutiny and the law goes against us to protect you? Whereas if you would have kept your sex life private and in the bedroom where it belongs, but we wouldn't even have these issues. So why is it all of a sudden all these hate issues because of your sexual preference? It's insane. It's insane. May 11th, 2023, the FDA finalizes new risk-based recommendations, paving the way for more gay and bisexual men to donate blood. The policy changes eliminate deferrals and screening questions specific to men who have sex with men and, of course, women who have sex with these men. So now we're not going to ask the questions. We take down all these standards that keep people safe and healthy to get healthy blood. We have all these standards, or had all these standards, because now the FDA got rid of the standards so that these people won't feel left out for their activities. Even though we know those activities is the spread of AIDS. Look at the commercials. When you see commercials, what do you see? These commercials that take pills for AIDS. What do you see? Men. And it's on TV, men kissing men, hugging on one another, so on and so forth. So I'm not saying anything that you're not already watching on TV. I just may be saying it in a tone that you don't like. That would be about it. But it's all over the TV. I'm just pointing it out. And now we see in May 11, 2023, the FDA changes the rules of engagement. And now we're going to allow everyone to give blood, no matter who, because we can't ask questions anymore to keep everyone else healthy and safe. So we got the wrong pronouns too. We got, men and women's sports. So it went to the bathrooms and now is in sports. And we have this whole, I thought we were supposed to protect the women. I thought our government was supposed to protect the women. Listen, where are these feminists at now? Where is it that we are protecting women and keeping men out of women's sports? Because we already know that it's not fair. Men are stronger than women. It's biological fact. You can't even deny it. I mean, you can in ignorance, and you can pretending to be blind about it, but it doesn't change the truth. Men are stronger than women as a whole. We're built different. But yet we're going to allow men in women's sports to dominate and break records. Men are breaking women's records. And people think that's okay. Men are stealing women's opportunities. And that's okay. And oh my goodness, how about this one? Because as a society, we have so lost our mind that we can't define a woman. We can't define a woman? Golly, man. The sad days that we're in. And then when we talk about this and point it out, then we're the hateful ones. No, we're not. We're the intelligent ones because we recognize truth. So easy. The hateful ones are the ones who are allowing women to be dominated by men in the name of equality. But we can't define what a woman is. If you can't define what a woman is, then how do you know as a man that you aren't a man, you're a woman? If you can't define a woman, how can you claim to be what you can't even explain to be? The insanity. The insanity is unbelievable to me. Then we have, we just remember it started out with we just want acceptance, but now we have LGBT groups suing churches because churches won't compromise their belief in the scriptures. And so now, or they won't hire them because of same sex, or because they're either trans or they are actively homosexual, gay, lesbian, whatever you want to call it. And churches are like, no, we don't agree with that. But the churches don't have the right. Of course, fortunately, the churches still are allowed to stand on their beliefs, but that window's getting smaller and smaller, and the pressure's getting tighter and tighter. But and then of course we have so many. They're not the Lord's church. I can tell you that they're not God's church. But you have a lot of these people proclaiming to be Christian or Christian churches that have allowed the LGBT pride agenda to sweep through it. And of course, let me just tell you, when that sin came in the door and you openly supported it, God went out the door. God's not there because he doesn't tolerate it. And one day you'll find out. So we went from, I just want accepted, to, no, I'm going to dominate you. I'm going to dominate you in every facet of life. I'm going to dominate you. Then we have, now we have 2025, we have national parks. National Recreation and Parks has decided to put in special parking spaces for LGBTQ/trans people. Give them special favor. So now they have special parking spaces like the handicap would. And if you're not gay or queer or lesbian or whatever you want to talk about it, or whatever you want to call it, and you park in one of those spots, you could get in trouble. And that's what listen, this progression isn't about, I just want equality. It is about, I'm going to have favor above you legally, financially, any way possible. I'm going to have favor above you. And then you wonder why people get upset. I'm not upset because they choose to lay down and have sex with the same sex, man with a man, woman with a woman. I'm not upset about that because I don't have to answer for that. But what makes me mad is the special favor just because of that. It's crazy. It's like giving reparations to the blacks because their ancestors were slaves, even though America, nobody alive today was a slave or ever had a slave. So why should everyone have to pay those that never had a slave, pay those who were never a slave for slavery? Well, I thought we were past it. Nope. But see, this is what we do. The government does. The government is continually dividing people and creating hate to keep people fighting. And that's what's going on here. Same thing going on with the LGBTQ. And so now they get special parking spots because they can't walk like the rest of us, that extra distance. Why don't we give it to the veterans? Why don't we give it to make more handicap parking spots? No. We got to do special favor parking spots for people who want special favors so that they can think they're above everyone else, and then nobody's supposed to get irritated by this. I don't mind walking because I always park out as far away as I can anyway so people don't beat my truck or my car up and ding it and dent it because they're inconsiderate when they get out of their cars or they don't care. So I always park way out anyway. I can use exercise. I like exercise. So I don't want the front spot anyway. My point is, when you start showing favor, you create dissension. It's what happens. Then you have Christian families that are being punished because they're Christian. So I pulled up this LGBTQnation.com is where I got this at. And it says this. I'll pull it up here. You can see it says Christian families sue for the right to mistreat LGBTQ plus foster children. That's the headline. But as you go down and read, you see it says Vermont says they're unfit. Well, I'll start here at the top. 2 Christian families in Vermont, alongside the Southern Poverty Law Center designated Hate Group Alliance Defending Freedom, are suing the state after it stripped their foster care licenses over the homophobic and transphobic beliefs. Vermont says they're unfit to parent any child because of their traditional religious beliefs about human sexuality. So they lose their right to foster children who need help, who need a home, simply because they have traditional family values and it's attached to Christian. See, the LGBTQ doesn't want equality. That's not what they're after. They want to dominate society, and they want to dominate it until you and I surrender all. To where we have no rights, they're superior, and we are gone. That's what they want. That's why they're trying to take over all the churches, and you see the flags everywhere. It's because they want approval from the church. Well, if you were born that way, why do you need my approval? I was born a man. I don't need not one single soul in this world to tell me I'm a man. Not one. And I don't need the world to know what goes on in my bedroom with my wife. Why is it so important that we got to know that you are sleeping with the same sex? Who cares? Go do it. You don't need my approval. I don't need your approval to be a man, but for whatever reason, we don't want men in society today because, well, men are the problem. Especially white men are the problem. That's the craziest junk I've ever heard in my life. We just, as a society, we have lost our minds. And I'm blown away by it. Now we have, and this is here, this is in New York, a law group. They specialize in suing people for misgendering someone else. So not only do we have lawyers set out just for misgendering, that's how bad it's gotten. But I want to show you a video of the Laura Ingram's show on Fox, where she interviews a pastor they were simply having an outreach and they were attacked, and then they were blamed for the attack. Even they were blamed as being the ones who incited the riot, even though the LGBTQ group, trans, all that, they're the ones that came to the event, attacked them, threw urine balloons, not water balloons, but water balloons filled with urine at them, the whole night. And then they're accused of being the ones to incite it. Listen to this.
Russell Johnson is the lead pastor of the Pursuit Northwest Church, and he helped organize both events in Seattle, and he joins us now. Pastor, it's good to see you tonight. Tell us what you saw and heard when things began to develop into chaos and unrest.
Yeah, it was crazy. It started on Saturday with a worship event in Cal Anderson Park. And that event has, of course, been labeled by the media as some sort of anti-LGBT type rally.
All right, so there you go. You see it is labeled anti-LGBTQ type rally. Now, understand, again, and we're just talking about the progression of this group, right? And where it started and where we're at today. Now, they can have... They can have all the rallies they want and so on and so forth, and the police will be there. And if someone shows up preaching the gospel, they'll ask them to go on the other side of the street. They won't let them come near. A Christian's not allowed to get near these rallies. Same way with abortion rallies and so on and so forth. Christians are not allowed to get near it, and so they're asked they'll push them away, tell them to go on the other side of the street, or they'll arrest them if they don't. And so here we have Christians having a rally, an LGBT group comes along, and when they come along, you're going to see they're allowed to do anything they want. Let's continue to watch it.
And it wasn't. That event offered free haircuts to kids, free bike giveaways, free groceries for the community, free prayer for people who were in need of it, and then it also incorporated a worship element at the end of that outreach. And that was when we were swarmed by hundreds of Antifa militants. And I'll only correct one thing in the reporting of your story. They weren't throwing water balloons. They were throwing water balloons filled with urine at Christians who stood in the park and were assaulted for the high crime of worshiping Jesus in a public space.
All right. So what are they assaulted for? Worshiping Jesus, being a Christian, because that's a hate group. And as you listen to this, you're going to find that the city, the law enforcement, and the higher ups consider them a hate group.
So that happened on Saturday, and then the mayor followed it up. An hour after that event ended, police officers were hospitalized, good church people were injured. He followed that up with a press statement blaming the church for the violence and saying that we are advocating values that are antithetical to Seattle's values. Yeah. So at that moment,
Okay, there is the problem. The mayor cites them for being at fault because their values the church's values of giving away free haircuts, giving away groceries, helping their community, that value goes against the city of Seattle.
I decided.
Yeah, Pastor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but a local Fox reporter spoke to one of the protesters to give viewers some context about where they're coming from, about what exactly they took issue with. Check this out.
Today was a very good example of two sides of people trying to be heard.
By the way, I love how, and this is all the time, every time, if you look at the right wing or the conservatives, they don't hide behind anything. If you look at the left wing, they're always hiding their face. And I don't even know what to say about that outfit. But why are you hiding your face? I don't know. Let's listen.
On one side, I saw a lot of hatred. These people that tell us they love us are showing us the opposite.
She's dressed like a rabbit with a slit eye thing. I don't really get that, but you heard her point, that you guys hate them, they feel put upon, and they were just expressing themselves.
There you go. We don't like what you stand for, and so therefore we are going to express ourselves, and it's always in violence. If you go and you read in the scriptures, and you read in 1 Corinthians, you read in Romans, what you read is this group, according to scripture, hinges everything on violence. Why? Because they want acceptance on every level until they can dominate. That's all they care about. And what are they going to do here? You're going to see they're going to dominate.
Yeah, Antifa is made up of petulant children who are grievance mongers, who decide to perpetuate violence against people that they disagree with. And of course, in a place like Seattle, they are coddled and supported by people like Mayor Bruce Harrell. Their voices are amplified by liberal news outlets like the Seattle Times. And in doing so, it creates a perfect storm that results in violence against people of faith, police officers, and others. And so after the mayor put out his statement and blamed us for the violence, I said, we're taking the rally to the front steps of City Hall. And that's exactly what we did on Tuesday.
Now, here's what you're going to find. What they did was they took it to City Hall. Thousands and thousands of people show up. And the law, once again, remains a dirtbag.
And similar things happened. Antifa was out in force. They bloodied and beat up good church people who stood in line to try to get into a rally to sing hymns and worship songs and pray for the direction of the city. And the mayor put out a second statement, even worse than the first. And he said, well, the only reason you're rallying at City Hall is because you are opposed to the idea that I am biracial. I mean, it's a clown show with these leftist agitator-supporting politicians who are so out of touch with, I think, a wide swath of their constituents. And I think Mayor Bruce Harrell terminated his political career by releasing those statements. There was a show of force. Thousands came out to City Hall.
Yeah, well, I scanned the crowd in the videos that I got access to, and it was a very diverse crowd. I mean, I don't understand the biracial comment at all, because there seemed to be a lot of Hispanic folks there. There were some African-American folks, white people, young, old, a lot of families. Part of what the rally was about, I thought, was the concern about the transgenderizing our youth, correct?
There you go. They are upset because they think the church is going to stop children from transitioning from male to female or female to male. And that's why they're attacking. Because, see, you're not supposed to have an opinion. You're not supposed to have a stand. You're not supposed, listen, if it goes against them or what they want, what they believe, then you and I are wrong. And the law has coddled them and given them permission to use violence.
Wasn't that part of it?
Yeah, and it included testimonies from parents. It included testimonies from people who have detransitioned after succumbing to trans ideology. And it was shared in the context of uplifting, hopeful. God can change anything. Jesus has the power to transform your life. So it wasn't this, Westboro Baptist hateful rhetoric. It was people sharing a hopeful, optimistic outlook on what it looks like when God begins a work in your life.
We can't have the world see what it looks like when you're a new creation. We can't have the world see how God changes people's lives from the inside out. We can't have that, because if people actually start seeing that and seeing that happen on a regular basis, then that means they're wrong. Well, that means they're not born that way. That means God doesn't approve of it. That means they got a problem.
Are Christians welcome in Seattle, in your view, to publicly express their views if they're traditionally held?
No, clearly not. And in fact, the mayor put that in his statement. He said in the future, he is going to deny religious groups the ability to pull permits to hold similar worship-themed events in public places.
Well,
which is, by the
There you go. We're going to deny religious people of faith, especially of the scriptures of the faith of Jesus Christ, deny them the right to pull permits so they can't publicly take a stand or show where they stand or help people in their neighborhood buy free groceries and free haircuts and all the other stuff that they do to help their community. No, we can't do that. We can't do that. And I'm not seeing the left do that. Let's watch the rest of it.
Christian.
Now,
Yeah, but he says, look, I'm a Christian, and he said First Amendment rights do need to be upheld, and that's why you were able to go to the park. That was a park that had been dedicated in some way to the LGBTQ cause, and that kind of made them upset. But you got the permit to do it where you did it, and it wasn't even your first choice. I know that's too much information for most people, but he's pushing back on you. He said they did get to speak, they did have 2 rallies, and now they're whining about it, basically.
Yeah, after Antifa hospitalized people, after people got hit in the face with urine-filled balloons, after Antifa members performed lewd sex acts in front of children getting free haircuts, yes, after paying a massive price for the high crime of exercising our First Amendment rights, yes, we were allowed to have some sort of event. And the mayor is so out of touch with the people. And you're right, that rally was super diverse, because here's what happened. When we announced that we were taking this to the front steps of City Hall, I got inundated with emails and texts and DMs from people who are not Christian and not conservative, who were outraged at the mayor's response, who said, you know what, we're going to come stand with Christians at City Hall because we believe in the First Amendment.
Well, this is what Seattle voted for. So you had the demilitarized zone, you had the Chaz, you had all this stuff. This is what the people of Seattle voted for.
All right. You see it. And that's becoming the norm. And so, how did we get here? That whole progression of, we just want acceptance. That's all. We just want to be accepted. Love is love. and everybody has a right to love whoever they want, to, if you don't agree with my stand and who I love, you'll pay the price. Like that's where we're at. I don't know, guys. I do know this. We're not in a good way as a country, and it just keeps going further and further downhill. And as long as they keep passing laws that support, as long as our government keeps passing laws that support the same-sex agenda and crucify the traditional family or the conservative church, then we're going to have bigger and bigger problems, because it's not going to go away. It's only going to wax worse and worse, as the old King James Bible says. And if you think that you've lost freedoms now, hold on, because the day is going to come, very possible, very soon, that you're going to be persecuted just because you disagree. Think about that one. Hey guys, I hope this podcast has helped you. And if it has, please like, share, subscribe, follow. Help me get the podcast out if you find value in it. And until the next time, God bless.